much rather learn from past experience of others than having to go through the trials myself. I'm going to be discussing past failures over the last decade of our homesteading journey, so hopefully you don't have to experience the same thing. If this is your first time here, my name is Brianna, and my husband Gray and I like to learn, practice, and teach our children traditional skills. The first lesson is that you learn by doing, not just by books. Before I officially jumped in and started taking action on my homesteading dreams, I waited for about 3 years before taking any action. I read all the homesteading books, I read so many blogs and looked at pictures and had this dream life and vision of me someday without actually taking action. It wasn't until 2010 when I planted my first garden and learned how to can that same summer that I really started taking action on my goals. And I find that taking in an abundance of information before actually doing anything is really easy to do in today's age, because now there's even things like podcasts and more websites and YouTube videos and just way more information than when Gray and I were just starting. And so I could see how it would be even easier just to get lost in reading about and learning about homesteading without actually taking any action. But you don't actually learn as much as just doing the chore, and you're gonna make mistakes, but that's okay. So to effectively learn the skill, just jump in. The next lesson that I learned is that there are no sick days. Now, I kind of knew this before going into it, but didn't realize the full weight and ramifications of there are no sick days until you're sick and you have animals to take care of and things to do outside and inside, especially through having since then 4 young children and multiple pregnancies of being ill sometimes. There are still animals that need care. There are still plants, unless you're willing to just give up on them for the time being, but that's not something that we ever wanted to do. And so choosing to have dominion over more things and have care over more things is not the easier path, especially during life's trials. With that being said, I want to mention the next mistake that we made, and that is not realizing that it takes a village. Much like raising children, if you want to be successful and have any semblance of a break or help if you're leaving or you're sick, then having like-minded community is really helpful. I did a video about how to vacation as a homesteader that I will leave linked down below, because I think it's really important to plan those times. So having people that you can trust with your farm and with your property is really important. And I also think as soon as your children are old enough, to give them some of the responsibility as well, for added benefit for them and for you and as your family as a whole. I plan to talk about how we view homestead kid chores in another video, so stay tuned for that. The next mistake that we made is not realizing it takes time to reap the reward. And so now that we have established fruit trees, we're really getting to benefit from all that work and those years of putting that effort in. But the same thing can be said for skills. You might feel like a complete failure the first time you do anything new, much like I have felt like a lot. But nothing is a failure if you learn something from it and you get back up and you do it again. I won't go into too many details, but I have way too many comical stories of trying something new for the first time and it did not pan out like I pictured. So it takes time to learn something new and to reap what you are sowing, so be patient. This is a really big one. Depending on your homesteading goals and ideas, you might want to go off-grid. I think that that is a very, very difficult way to become a homesteader, to go off-grid right off the bat, because there's just so much infrastructure that you need to set up. I just think that utilizing electricity and running water and the internet while you can, and then maybe working towards going off grid, an easier way to go. The best practice is to use modern conveniences to help you get on your way with one skill at a time. You can always build up to an off-grid system, but why make things harder on yourself? And with that being said, the last tip is that the internet is so helpful. So even though the first tip was take action, which I completely agree with, combine that with use the internet. Some of these skills are so lost because our parents and grandparents didn't teach them to us, whether they knew them or not. We were not taught, and the culture in our modern society in general don't always teach these things. And so use the internet as a tool, find your tribe online, and ask questions and watch videos and read books and listen to podcasts to get you to where you want to go and just really build out your skill portfolio. I hope that this video was helpful. I will see you in the next one.